Prince Oberyn Nimrose Martell tasted the air of the capital like a viper-scenting dusk-cool stone. Copper and dust still clung to his tongue. The tang of the mountain's blood only an hour dry upon the sand of the viewing yard. Bodies had been carried away, the red viper limping from the pit, the mountain's shattered ruin wheeled off beneath a sodden sheet. But King's Landing itself felt unchanged. Furnace winds off the Blackwater, the stench of tanneries and river mud, seabird cries circling the ramparts. Yet, in truth, every banner rippled to a new current. A mountain had fallen, and with it the illusion of Lannister invincibility. Oberyn's ribs burned where Gregor's gauntlet had broken them, and the cut across his left thigh wept through 3 layers of silk. He welcomed the pain. Pain meant breath. Breath meant life. Life meant vengeance still unfinished. Elaya's name rode the pulse in his ears. When the doors of the throne room swung wide and the herald's voice rang out. Prince Oberyn Martell of Dorne, champion in the trial, here at his grace's pleasure. He advanced without his staff, refusing the crutch Maester Balabar had urged upon him. A Dornishman bowed to no pain before lions. The Iron Throne glittered in the torchlight, forged swords catching orange gleams like the eyes of desert cats. Tommen Baratheon, small, uncertain, crown too heavy for his boy's brow, sat perched upon wrought steel. To the boy king's left rose the hand, Lord Tywin Lannister, his gaze polished gold and flint. To the right, Queen Regent Cersei, fingers flexing white against the arm of her seat. They had expected a corpse upon that litter. Now the victor approached instead, victory echoing like a spear strike on bronze shields. Oberyn knelt, his cloak pooling sunset red. The motion sharpened his broken rib. He swallowed the ache, tasting iron. "Your Grace," he said, "justice has been served." He let the syllables linger, and the throne room rustled in their wake. Nobles shifting silks, armored captains clearing throats, minor lords wondering whether justice in King's Landing had acquired a Dornish accent. Tywin stood. The movement commanded silence the way a sword commands surrender. "Prince Oberyn," the hand pronounced, each word clean as a whetstone pass. "You fought in accordance with the god's judgment. The court acknowledges your triumph." Yet beneath the formal veneer Oberyn heard the grit. Acknowledgement neither welcomed nor foreseen. Tywin Lannister's strategies unraveled only rarely. When they did, he rewove the threads before the world grasped the pattern had slipped. Today, the Red Viper had cut one brilliant scar across the weave. "Triumph is for songs," Oberyn answered, rising without leave. His voice carried to every corner. "I accept freedom for the accused, Ser Tyrion, and safe conduct for myself and my entourage. Beyond that I seek a quieter victory, a ripple of confusion." Tywin's eyelids narrowed a hair's breadth. "Name this quieter victory." Oberyn turned fractionally toward the ornately carved master's chair, conspicuously empty in the semicircle of the small council dais. "My Lord Hand, a city such as yours feasts upon rumor, chokes upon secret plots, and staggers beneath 1,000 daggers hiding behind smiling masks. Your master of whisperers has absented himself at a delicate hour. The capital might suffer in his silence. Dorne, however, is not without talent for silent tongues." He laid a hand upon his own. "Let me serve the realm in that role." The hall froze. Even ravens perched high on the window lattice seemed to withhold cause. Somewhere a septa's candle guttered. Oberyn felt Cersei's stare like chill water. Tywin studied him in taut quiet, weighing blood debts against expedience, alliances against enmities. Killing Gregor Clegane had drawn a blade through Lannister intimidation, yet offered Tywin one priceless gift, the severing of a liability. Poison laced Gregor's blood. Foul, subtle, incurable, would have lingered, a rotting beast chained in the Lannister yard. By dying swiftly in the yard's eye, the mountain specter vanished cleanly. Tywin might not like Oberyn's audacity, but he could use it. At last the hand spoke. "The small council is not filled by mere request." "Then fill it by need," Oberyn pressed. He let his dark eyes sweep the gallery. Poor knights, silk-draped ladies, Sellsword captains gripping scarred hilts. King's Landing bled today. It will bleed more tomorrow. I would see the wounds stitched before infection seeps to Dorne's door. Your Grace, Cersei interjected, her smile thin as a sword's edge. The prince is fatigued from battle. Let us grant him rest and speak of appointments when his blood cools. My blood, Oberyn murmured, has boiled for 16 years, Your Grace. Coolness is for corpses. Gasped. Tywin raised a placating palm. We shall consider Prince Oberyn's proposal, he said, voice ironclad. For now, let the court adjourn. Thunderous murmurs chased Oberyn through vaulted corridors as gold cloaks escorted him toward Maegor's holdfast. Behind barred doors he found Tyrion Lannister waiting, face pale, mismatched eyes shining with incredulous delight. "Seven save me, you mad, marvelous man," Tyrion breathed, raising a wine cup. "I thought my head would roll beside yours by nightfall. Instead, here I pour arbor red in your honor." Oberyn accepted the cup. His hand trembled, a tremor hidden by smooth grace, and he drank deeply. "Your freedom was promised," he said, "not yet delivered." "My father will honor the god's verdict," Tyrion said, though his lips tightened on the words. "And what of your own price?" "That," Oberyn said, "remains to be carved." He would carve it with precision. In the coming hours he dispatched silent sisters of the Spear Tower, Dornish women bearing no sigils, trained in sandsnake arts, to shadow courtiers known to whisper for Cersei. To the pleasure houses he sent retainers laden with Dornish gold to purchase debts from bottom-dwelling moneylenders. Debts owed by guardsmen, scribes, septons. Secrets were currency, and currency he understood. Night fell thick and hot. Oberyn sat upon a balcony overlooking the Red Keep's rookery, listening to ravens croak their black gossip to the stars. In Dorne, stars spoke to desert travelers. Here, they flickered like knives thrown in fair warning. He closed his eyes and breathed salt, dung, smoke. The capital's heart beat underfoot, hurried and fearful. Into that beat he slipped a quiet promise. The Viper is not done. At dawn, gray corridors carried him to the Tower of the Hand. Tywin received him in a sparse solar where the lion banners had been drawn aside, revealing dawn spilling pink across the harbor. No guards stood within. The silence itself bore armor. "Prince Oberyn," Tywin said, motioning to a plain chair across the narrow table. Two cups steamed between them, the scent of bitter leaf. "You seek the spider silk seat." "I seek to serve the realm," Oberyn replied, taking the chair as though it were a marble throne. "Spare me courtesies," the hand said. "Why should I trust you?" "Trust is the coin no wise man spends," Oberyn answered. "But you might invest in my hatred. I hate House Lannister too keenly to squander the chance you give me. If I betray you, you will crush Sunspear beneath your golden heels. Yes? Yet if you refuse me, Dorne remembers the mountain's crimes unsatisfied. You bought peace by letting me face him. Keep peace by letting me work against far subtler monsters." Tywin considered, lashes hooded. "You are poison," he said finally, "but sometimes poison is the correct blade." Only then did Oberyn glimpse the faintest tilt of the lion's mouth, not warmth, but the minimal concession of strategy meeting opportunity. Tywin signed a vellum decree naming Prince Oberyn Martell to the small council as Master of Whisperers, effective sunset. By sunset, Oberyn vowed, half the city's secrets would already coil around his wrists like living serpents. He began with the streets. Varys had woven a child's net of little birds, but children grew. Some turned hungry, some vanished, some learned to hate their unseen master. Oberyn walked the flea-bottom alleys garbed in plain leather, a Dornish coin flashing between his fingers, inviting rumor to roost. He spoke to gutter singers whose fathers died at the Blackwater, to dyers whose hands never washed clean of purple, to silent girls who watched everything from behind veils of filthy curls. For every whisper he offered bread or silver or a name placed gently upon a parchment slip, an enemy's name to be sold at market later. He moved next to seps and brothels. In a candlelit alcove of the Chatoyant Dove, he coaxed confessions from a Tyrell squire whose knight fancied Queen Marjorie's maid. In the crusted vaults beneath the September of Baylor, he met silent monks once sworn to deliver messages for the spider. They betrayed their chalk-coated routes for casks of Dornish red and a promise of anonymity. That night he summoned each sand snake by raven. Obara from the Stepstones, Nymeria from Old Volantis, Tyene from the Silent Sisters' halls in Dorne. "Come north," he wrote. "Bring your talents. The game bleeds anew." He sealed with wax bearing a viper encircling a sunburst, the mark of Eliah's vengeance. 1 week later, the small council convened behind oak doors. Candle smoke curled above fresh parchment maps. Quills scratched, armor clinked. Grand Maester Pycelle dozed. Lord Oberyn Waters, newly made master of ships, inspected harbor grain tallies. Mace Tyrell bounced on Boothiels, eager as a hound. And there, cloaked in dusk red, sat Oberyn Martell beside a high-backed chair conspicuously empty. Varys's old place, cushions still indented from the spider's girth. Cersei entered last, green eyes bright as wildfire. "Shall we begin?" she said sweetly. Tywin nodded. Reports followed. Ravens from Riverrun, levies in the Reach, the Wall's desperate requests for men. When the hand finally turned to his newest minister, silence sharpened. "Lord Whisperer," Tywin said, a title rare on his lips. "Your first intelligence." Oberyn rose. "My lords, my lady, your grace. Knowledge is best served warm." Yet some plates scald the fingers. From his sleeve he spilled a handful of parchment strips. "I present 7 crimes conceived within these stone walls since the mountain fell. 1 attempt to bribe a testimony scribe, 2 plots to spirit Ser Tyrion from custody before formal release, 1 scheme to poison the High Septon, and most delicate, correspondence indicating that certain captains of the Goldcloaks receive stipends from." He let his gaze rest upon Mace Tyrell, a house presently allied by marriage to the crown. Mace sputtered. "Slander." Oberyn smiled like a drawn stiletto. "The parchment bears signature of a Rose Road factor sworn to Highgarden. The ink is not yet dry. Unsullied truth, my lord." Cersei's glare could have shattered mirrors. "Produce proof." Oberyn extended the strips across the table. Tywin examined them with terse efficiency. After a moment, he set them down. "This will be investigated. Captain of the Goldcloaks to be replaced pending inquiry." Mace Tyrell flushed red, glancing sidelong at handless Ser Island Payne, as though measuring neck measurements. Oberyn retook his seat. "Secrets," he murmured to the council, "are seeds. Ignore them, and they sprout dragons." He felt Cersei's fury coil, but the Queen Regent had no leash upon him. The seat was his, the game newly tilted. Thus commenced the reign of the Viper in the webs of the Spider. Nights grew thick with his riders slipping through postern gates, bearing messages upon ravens' feathers painted gold, each quill marking alliances in invisible lemon ink revealed only under flame. By day he paced the Tower of the Hand, skin still fevered from battle, weaving rumors into nooses. Varys, somewhere beyond narrow seas, surely tasted the tremor in his threads. The old master's birds still perched in nests, but now they sang for a different tune. Oberyn dreamed of Elia less often. Sometimes he saw her holding infant Aegon, smiling beneath a dappled arbor at Sunspear, before the mountain's mailed fist smashed down. When Oberyn woke, he breathed deep, told her shade that a little justice had bloomed, and promised more. Autumn crept across the realm, reddening leaves with blood whispers. War slowed but did not cease. Ravens still winged in thick as dusk midges. Oberyn's reports mapped shifting loyalties. Northern houses, fractured by betrayal and death. The Vale, quiet as a sword sheathed but not forgotten. Dragonstone, where Stannis nursed a god's hunger. To each corner he dispatched agents. Where gold failed, honeyed words succeeded. Where honey soured, poison sweetened. One moonless eve a hooded girl slipped into the tower. Nymeria Sand, eyes glinting liquid brass. She laid on the council table 3 severed tongues wrapped in a silk kerchief. Tongues of men who had plotted to spirit Princess Myrcella from Dorne's wardship. "A gift," she said. Oberyn accepted it, and the Queen Regent paled ivory, lips flat. Your daughter is safe, Oberyn told Cersei, softness laced with steel. Dorne keeps its promises. Cersei drank wine that night until sunrise, but she spoke no word against him in council again. The city reshaped around the new voice of whispers. Spices dear in Dorne found sudden surplus in King's Landing. Dornish sailors earned docking preference. Water pits dug by the Alchemists' Guild followed designs sent from Sunspear, filtering silt from scarce wells. The small folk took note that bread lines shortened when the Viper smiled. They whispered that justice might come in a prince's footsteps after all. Yet danger stalked each corridor of power. Ser Balon Swan, now Lord Commander while Jaime recuperated on campaign, brought news of Sellswords massing in Myr under banners rumored to serve the Golden Company. Oberyn's counteragents uncovered Tycho Nestoris of the Iron Bank negotiating loans with Cersei behind Tywin's back. He carried such tidings to the Hand, who listened in still, frost-lined calm. "You realize," Tywin said one winterishly late evening, "my daughter will one day act against you." Oberyn swirled dark wine. "Better an enemy you see across the table than one nesting behind walls. She has claws. So do vipers." Tywin's gaze rested on the Dornish prince, appraising anew. Perhaps he wondered if he had hired his own executioner. Perhaps he admired the audacity. Perhaps both truths could live in the same thin smile. Snow never settled long in King's Landing. Yet one dawn the city awoke beneath a pale dusting. Frost crystals clinging to domes, white on ships' rigging. Oberyn left tracks across the courtyard paving stones as he strode to the throne room, summoned by urgency. There, upon plush red carpet, knelt a ragged man in Pentoshi silks, one of Varys's elusive little birds, too old now to hide among children. The man's voice trembled. "I bear word from the spider." Whispers rippled among lords gathered for the morning audience. Oberyn descended the dais steps, cloak brushing the stone. "Speak," he said, and the word crackled like frost beneath boot leather. "The spider says." The dragon stirs. Daenerys Targaryen marches upon Meereen with 3 living Dr. The arrow took the messenger's throat in mid-syllable. He pitched, gurgling, silk-staining crimson. Guards shouted. From the balcony shadows an archer dashed, dropping bow, but Goldcloak seized him by the ankles. Oberyn knelt by the fallen man, pressing fingertips to spurting wound. Useless, the arrow fletching pulsed. The bird's eyes fixed on something far beyond vaulted ceilings before glazing like winter ponds. Oberyn rose slowly. The archer, a gaunt Stormlander bannerman of uncertain insignia, quaked as Tywin ordered his tongue cut out before questioning. Yet Oberyn's gaze strayed to Cersei standing very still, lips parted, green eyes glittering triumph faint as moonlight on frost. Did she order the arrow? Too brittle a move, too bold a stroke. Yet grief or fear could harden into recklessness. Secrets grew heavier. Varys moved pawns from afar. Dragons rose across the world's curve. Lions and vipers circled the same bloody ground. Oberyn felt destiny coil. In the Tower of the Hand that night he sat with Tyrion, free by royal decree yet uneasy within walls that had nearly executed him. Candles guttered. Outside, frost thawed into tiny rivers along rampart stones. "All our games," Tyrion mused, sipping wine. "And across the seas a girl with dragons rolls her dice. Dice burn," Oberyn said. "When dragons breathe flame. You enjoy this seat of whispers, don't you?" "I enjoy pathways to justice. For Elia. For more than Elia." He met Tyrion's mismatched gaze. For girls sold in silk pavilions to slavers. For boys broken beneath armored fists. For mothers raped during sack. The realm drowns in quiet murders. Let whispers raise floodgates. Tyrion chuckled darkly, spoken like a man who knows the cost of noise. Beyond the shutters, a ship's bell tolled from the harbor, low, forlorn, like iron rung against fate. Oberyn wondered which horizon it called to, one bearing dragons or one bearing doom of another kind. He drained his cup. Months flowed, each bringing tidings Oberyn wove into silken traps. 2 sand snakes oversaw networks stretching to Old Town and Gull Town. Tyene nested within Septa's confessional shadows, slipping truths from penitent tongues. Obara rode north with a band of caravanners, beneath banners of merchant guilds, scouting Flint hills and winter roads, measuring stark loyalists' hunger one hearth at a time. On a winter's eve thick with chimney smoke, Obara returned swifter than ravens. She burst into Oberyn's solar with snow still melting in her braids. "Bolton banners fly over Winterfell," she reported, voice like stone on steel. "Wolves are flayed in the yard." Oberyn's jaw clenched. "Flaying. How well the North forgets the Mad King." "There is more." Word swirls of a little black bastard murdered by his own men at the wall, of a red witch birthing shadows for a king in exile. Obara's gaze pinned him. "Chaos seeds." "Chaos?" Oberyn echoed softly. "Is a ladder, yet every ladder has serpents coiled upon the rungs." He rose, pulling a map across his table. Inked constellations of houses, roads, rumors. He plotted new lines, Dornish caravans through the Reach, unsullied whispers and bravos, silent sisters traveling orphan wagons. Varys had built webs for years. Oberyn would outweave him in months. Yet vengeance is a slender blade that cuts the hand if gripped too tight. Even as Oberyn wove, Tywin's mortality frayed. The Lord Hand coughed blood into silk napkins at dawn. His eyes jaundiced, his temper sharper than ever. One day soon the lion's last roar would falter, and the realm would scramble for the Echo's throne. In that clamor secrets would decide crowns. Oberyn readied himself. No longer only Elaya's brother, now he was whisperer, weaver, judge. His life hung by a spider's silk thread, but he held one end firmly and tied the other to the throat of power. When snow finally settled a finger's width deep upon the marble of the great September, the small council met in dark furs. Oberyn stood at the broad windows, watching children touch frost for the first time, laughter ringing. Tyrion, seated now as master of coin after his release, counted war costs in ledgered size. Cersei shifted restlessly, sleeves lined with fox. Tywin's cough shook him midway through a decree. Blood flecked white parchment. Silence shivered. Oberyn turned, eyes locking with the hands. In that moment he saw not a lion but an aging man bending beneath invisible chains. "Father," Cersei whispered, half pleading, half command. Tywin waved her off, finished the decree, signed his name in a hand that barely trembled. Only then did he nod to Grand Maester Pycelle for physic. Oberyn watched, feeling the sands of Dorne warm against his memory. The mountain had fallen, the lion would fall, and in the hollows left behind, something new might grow, something born of secrets, sharpened by grief, tempered in sunlit sands. He stepped back to the window. Snowflakes danced like ashes. Somewhere beyond sight dragons learned to breathe. And in the corridors below, little birds chirped a new name, Viper, sliding through the cracks of empire. The game was only beginning, is almost equal to 30,000 characters. Let me know when you'd like the next installment, and I'll continue spinning the tale toward the full 60,000 character epic. The raven's corpse lay upon the marble sill 2 mornings later, its glossy feathers ruffed, throat slit so cleanly the bird appeared sculpted from obsidian. Oberyn found it when the dawn light had only just begun to bruise the eastern sky. No note was pinned to the carcass, none was needed. In the language of spies, a silent dead messenger carried meaning more potent than ink. He beckoned the sentry stationed outside his solar. "Who set watch last night?" "Ser Boros hollered, my prince." "He swears none approached." Oberyn inhaled through the ache still lodged beneath his cracked rib, tasting salt and copper and old anger. "Tell Ser Boros to swear again, this time upon the hot iron of a brazier. If his flesh does not blister with falsehoods, I will know to look elsewhere for the viper in my garden." The guard blanched, saluted, and hurried away. Oberyn plucked the raven's body up by a wingtip and studied the incision. A left-handed blade, narrow, sharp enough to separate scale from scale but too slender to be the work of Obara or Nymeria. He thought of Tyene's love of slender steels dipped in kiss-sweet poison, but Tyene served him with zeal and no little amusement. Besides, she always left a scent: myrrh, cloves, or the faint almond of cyanide. This corpse smelled only of blood and sea. He tossed the bird into the brazier and watched it curl like black paper in flame. Somewhere beyond the arched window, the bells of Baylor's September tolled prime. It was time for council. He donned a cloak of wine-dark wool and descended spiraling steps into corridors brightening with lanterns. Pages bowed, maids flattened themselves against walls, gold cloaks snapped to attention. Fear misted the air in his passing. He wondered how many saw only the man who slew the mountain and how many glimpsed the deeper thing, the new spider spinning webs of colored silk and desert sand. The council chamber smelled of ink and cold iron. Oak walls hugged candlelight close as conspirators. Tywin sat at the head, parchment stacked like ramparts before him. His skin had gone papery, yet the yellow-green of his eyes remained unblinking as a cat's. Beside him Cersei sipped wine though bells had scarcely ceased ringing. Her gaze flicked to Oberyn, lips twisting as if around a bitter seed. Tyrion lounged opposite, tapping ledger margins while Grand Maester Pycelle snored amid a cloud of stale rose oil. Mace Tyrell arrived late, cheeks rosy with winter bite, and Lord Oberyn Waters trailed behind smelling of salt and tar. They began with Tycho Nestoris, recently departed for Bravos after extracting golden promises edged with iron. They spoke of Stannis' fleet sighted near Eastwatch. They argued grain tariffs on northern shipments. Throughout, Oberyn listened, fingers drumming an idle rhythm that no one in the room recognized as the war cadence of the Sons of the Scorching Wind, an ancient Dornish order sworn to avenge blood debt 10 generations deep. At last Tywin turned to him. "Your birds sing anything of the pirate Salador San?"
"A familiar refrán," Oberyn answered.
"He courts Valentine coin but distrusts their slave yokes. Even pirates have taboos." "We may need him," Tywin said. "Stannis grows teeth again and intends to bite." Oberyn inclined his head. "I will see if San's sails can be trimmed to fit Lannister colors, perhaps in exchange for the foregone plunder of Dragonstone's treasury. A small price, given that Castle's vaults are near empty." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "Generosity with other people's coin is a Martell trait? Generosity with strategic foresight is simply wisdom, Your Grace." The quip drew a faint chuckle from Tyrion. Tywin's stare cut them both into silence. When session ended, Oberyn lingered. He approached the hand as servants cleared scrolls. "We must discuss the arrow," he murmured. "The man killed delivering Varys' message." Tywin kept writing. "I have men questioning half the city watch. Half will not suffice. Fear of your justice keeps them honest in daylight. Yet shadows still belong to the queen." The quill paused. "Speak plainly." "I suspect the archer served her." Tywin's eyelid twitched. "Cersei would not risk fratricide under my roof. Would she not?" Oberyn leaned closer, lowering his voice to a desert rasp. "She has little love for Tyrion. I think she sought to erase mention of dragons, not the man. Yet an arrow loosed in the throne room might strike unintended throats." Tywin's jaw tightened. Still he replied stiffly, "Bring proof, not suspicion." Oberyn inclined his head and departed through a side stair before the lion's temper found claws. Proof, he mused, was a fickle thing. Blood on fletching, coin purse bearing lion emblems, a confession coaxed by wine and knives. Any could be claimed doubted, but hearts laid bare in fear never lied. He needed a heart. That afternoon he convened with Nymeria Sand beneath the vaulted brick of the old black cellars where wildfire once sloshed in rusted jars. Now barrels of Dornish pomegranate wine filled the gloom, a ruse for plotting. Nymeria sprawled on a cask wearing orange leather, hair bound back with a copper serpent. She toyed with 3 small silver needles. "Sister," he greeted. "Brother." She tucked the needles into her sleeve. "The arrow, you think it was lion work?" "A lioness's. I require the archer alive before the Silent Sisters finish with him." Nymeria smiled. "Alive is negotiable." She whistled. 2 lean figures stepped from shadows, orphans of the Street of Silk whom she had trained to scale the Red Keep's western walls. "They can reach the black cells unseen." "Good. Fetch him. Corrupt the jailer." Bribe him twice if once fails. Slip the prisoner out by the refuse postern to the rookery basement. Tyene will wait. Nymeria arched a brow. Tyene's knives will loosen any tongue. Loosen only, Oberyn cautioned. I want syllables, names, coin trails, all intact. Then we may sever the rest. Night fell like a mute curtain, thickening air with fog rolling off the Blackwater. Tyene awaited in the basement, a single torch guttering behind her. She wore white mail beneath a septa's gown, lips glossy with rose oil masking a subtler scent of widow's blood. An iron stool and a table of copper instruments glimmered. At the second hour of rat bells, the orphans arrived bearing a limp bundle. The archer's face bore purple bruises, one eye swollen shut, yet his pulse still fluttered at his throat. Tyene tied him firm to the stool, humming a lullaby their mother had sung of cool oases and bone-white moons. Oberyn entered last. He set a goblet beside the torch, red as garnet, thick with sedative, and sprinkled 2 grains of powdered basilisk venom into it. The dose would soothe pain while sharpening truth. The mind, freed from fear of agony, ran faster to confession. Tyene pried the prisoner's jaws open. Oberyn poured. For a time, only the crackle of torchfire filled the narrow space. Then the man's eyelids fluttered, and breath sighed between blood-caked lips. Name, Oberyn said.
Ser.
Janin Storm. House Allegiance. A bast, he coughed. Bastard of Griffin's Roost. So still a Connington man. Oberyn circled slowly. Who hired you? Ser Janin's head lolled. Coins? A purse? Lion's head clasp. A woman. Messenger. Black hood. Voice soft. Clipped. Associ accent. Oberyn frowned. That scent pointed away from Cersei. Perhaps to Varys, though the spider seldom left such crude traces. Target the messenger, not the room? Kill the man. Before he finished speaking,
Ser Janin swallowed.
Said, the king's peace relied on silence. Your payment, half now, half upon deed to be placed at the Street of Sisters. Tyene glanced at Oberyn. The Street of Sisters lay within Cersei's favored walks for prayer. But Varys once kept a tunnel mouth there too. Concentric circles overlapped, poison disguised as piety. What of Queen Cersei? Oberyn pressed. Did you see her? The archer's mouth twitched. Confusion or theater. He shook his head. Saw no queen, only the hood. Oberyn studied him. Truth lay veiled. The venom forced speech but could not conjure memory where none existed. Whoever hired the bastard used a catspaw removed from her circle. He turned to Tyene. I want the purse, the coins, every hair of the hood. Extract procurement details, where he slept, who he drank with, what stable took his horse. Do not kill him yet. Tyene's smile gleamed. Not yet. Oberyn departed before screams began. He climbed spiral stairs until the night air burst over him like chilled wine. From the parapets the city glimmered. Torches on the chain gate, lanterns bobbing on river sloops, the red torch atop the alchemist's guild hall. Each point of flame was a throat whispering secrets. He inhaled, tasting them. Perhaps the mountain's death had not ended Elia's vengeance. Perhaps it had only pried open a door. Now came the flood. 3 days later Tywin collapsed in the small council chamber, coughing crimson into a lace handkerchief. Panic rippled. Pycelle scuttled to mix poppy milk while Tyrion seized his father's shoulders to keep him upright. Oberyn watched, noting the tremble in the lion's fingers. Age, yes, but age hastened by something darker? He knelt beside the hand. Let him breathe, he told Pycelle. Warm broth, light honey, no wine. Pycelle bristled at Dornish instruction yet scurried regardless. Tywin's lips parted. My chambers, he rasped. They bore him there on a litter. Cersei paced alongside wringing hands. Once inside the solar, she turned on Oberyn like a cornered cat. You have worked my father to death, she hissed. You overestimate me, he said, voice soft. Your father's labors were decades old before I set foot in this keep. Her glare glittered. When he dies, you die, Dornish dagger or not. Oberyn inclined his head. We shall see which sand shifts first. Pycelle barred visitors. Outside the door Tyrion hovered, face pale beneath a mask of jest. I always believed the gods might strike him down mid-sentence, the dwarf muttered. I did not expect them so tardy. Oberyn placed a hand on the shorter man's shoulder. Prepare yourself. Lions bereft grow frenzied. If Cersei tries to leash me again, I will bite off the hand she offers. Hands are overrated, Oberyn said drily and left. He returned to his own tower and set scribes to writing. Ravens flapped west bearing cryptic couplets to Dorne. Pigeons flew east to Bravos. He dispatched Oberyn north again, slipstreaming along the King's Road disguised as a mercenary. Nymeria shadowed the Tyrell host camped outside the city, her needles poised to stitch or unseam. By the seventh day Tywin rose, gaunt yet indomitable. He summoned Oberyn privately. The hand study stank of crushed mint and leech buckets. Tywin's eyes burned fever-bright. You take liberties, he began. I take opportunities, Oberyn corrected. Tywin studied him a long beat. I may not live a year. You may not live a moon. Then listen. When I die, my daughter will attempt to seize the regency entire. She must not. Oberyn arched a brow. And you entrust me to thwart her? You or Tyrion? The lion's mouth curved in grim amusement. But Cersei's hatred of him outstrips her fear of you. She will move first against her brother. That purchase must be denied. What price? Simple. Tywin slid a small iron key across the desk. The city vaults hold ledgers. Proof of loans Cersei took from the Iron Bank using crown jewels as collateral. The documents are in the second archive chamber beneath the East Wing. Remove them. Without the ledgers, the Iron Bank will turn to the next Lannister in line, my brother Kevan, who is less pliable to Cersei. Oberyn weighed the key in his palm, cold and heavy as fate. And in return, Dorne shall hold Princess Myrcella unmolested. The succession line through her remains valid. Let the realm no Martells guard their charges. My word, Oberyn said, is already given. Double it, Tywin growled. With steel. Oberyn inclined his head. Done. He left wondering if he had just sworn to protect a girl he barely knew for a father he would gladly see rot. Politics made strange palettes for painting justice. The archive vaults nested like stone wombs beneath the keep, reachable by a single winding stair guarded by 2 Ravenhelm sentries sworn thrice to House Lannister. Oberyn went at midnight clad in maester's robes, forged pass from the hand clenched in fist. Tyene accompanied, her steps soundless as morning dew. The guards read Tywin's seal and stepped aside. Lanterns guttered in the narrow corridors. Dust film shelves stacked with silver-bound tomes. Cobwebs strung ledger spines. Oberyn located the correct chamber, second on the right, heavy door thrice locked. The iron key slid home. Inside, parchment scrolls lay row upon row, meticulously labeled. Tyene produced a small leather pouch and began to remove every 5th scroll, depositing thin replacement tubes inside, blank but sealed with perfect imitation wax. Oberyn rifled until he found 3 leather-bound ledgers stamped with Lannister arms and Braavosi glyphs. He tucked them into a slim satchel. Footsteps echoed. Tyene's dagger flashed, but Oberyn gestured her still. Cersei stepped through the door, flanked by Ser Osmond Kettleblack. Her gown of emerald silk shimmered. Her eyes, though, were unsleeved daggers. Playing rat in my father's cellars, Prince? Oberyn bowed. I believed this your father's domain, not yours. I speak for him. She noted the satchel. What do you steal? I archive. He passed her a random scroll. She unrolled it, flicking quick eyes over valuations of wheat imports. Tidy sums? She murmured, bored, and flung it back. Ser Osmond's hand strayed to sword hilt. Cersei raised a finger. Leave them. The knight hesitated but obeyed, stepping outside. Cersei closed the door. We could end our dance here, she said quietly. Open the satchel. Oberyn met her gaze. Open it yourself. She approached, silk whispering like snake scales. Tyene shifted a half step, but Oberyn twitched 2 fingers. Peace. Cersei unclasped the satchel. Her breath hitched as she glimpsed the ledgers. Recognition flared. "You piece of Dornish." "Careful," Oberyn warned. "Vipers strike when threatened." "You mean to blackmail me?"
No.
"To balance you. Your father wills it." "Liar." "He is no man's servant," Tyene added softly. Cersei's lips retracted from teeth. "You think I fear you, Sand Girl?" Tyene's answering smile was pure innocence. Oberyn placed a hand on her shoulder. "Queen Regent," he said, "this is not fear, merely negotiation. Those ledgers vanish tonight. Should harm befall Tyrion, they reappear, perhaps in a Braavosi courier's pouch bound for Dragonstone, or worse, Highgarden, where the Tyrells might purchase a king's forgiveness at discount price." Cersei trembled with rage. "I will. You will consider," Oberyn finished. "Consider peace. Consider your children's long lives. Consider dragons in the east." He walked past her, Tyene at his side. At the doorway he paused. "All things burn, Cersei, some slower than others. Ash is ash." He left her in the dark amid the dust of ledgers and the ghosts of debts unpaid. At sunrise, he delivered the ledgers to Tywin. The old lion pressed a seal of solstice gold into his hand, an emblem authorizing any command in the king's name save declaration of war. "Use it sparingly," Tywin said. "I prefer daggers," Oberyn replied. "Dagger or decree, both edge toward power." He tucked the seal into an inner pocket. That same afternoon, ravens croaked of turmoil in Meereen. Daenerys had taken the city, nailed slavers to crosses, freed thousands. Dragons grown horse-sized now torched grain barges sailing under Volantene flags. Across the narrow sea, merchants whispered of fire and copper wings. Oberyn dispatched envoys to Pentos, one carrying a marriage proposal, informal, veiled in poetry, from the Prince of Dorne to the Dragon Queen. Perhaps nonsense, perhaps seed for later harvest. Dragons made every game board change shape. Winter crept south. The Blackwater froze in thin skeins. Bread rioted in Cobbler's Square. Oberyn released stores from crown granaries, earning cheers and curses in equal measure. He taxed late-night brothels instead of seps, infuriating sparrows. He banned armed sellswords from carrying axes within the city walls, pleasing small folk but angering mercenary captains. One captain, Myrish Poxguard, attempted to slit his throat in the Painted Table Tavern. Nymeria's needles left him twitching on oak planks before the blade cleared its scabbard. The tavern owner swept the corpse into the alley and offered Oberyn a free carafe of spiced wine. Influence fermented. Sometimes Oberyn lay awake listening to gulls cry above the tower. He pictured Dorne. Salt-flat aromas, spear shadows at sundown, Elia's laughter echoing in palace arcades. Vengeance had led him north, but something else kept him. An ache to mend a realm broken long before a mountain crushed a princess. Tyrion joined him on such nights, trading quips and wine, discussing justice across chessboards. Once Tyrion asked, "Will you ever return south? When peace grows roots here, peace is a weed. Trim one stem, 3 sprout. Then perhaps weeds are all the realm deserves, so long as they shade the weak." Tyrion drank. "Shade me first." They laughed, but both heard the steel in it. Spring's first bud, an optimistic weed pushing through frost, brought news. Stannis had won victories in the snowbound north, taking Deepwood Motte, rallying northern clans to his fiery banner. Lady Lyanna Mormont named him king from behind bare banners. Bolton Power trembled. Cersei ignored these tidings, obsessed instead with rumors that Margaery Tyrell kept secret lovers. She demanded proof. Oberyn fed her ambiguous scraps gleaned from pillow talk, watching her spiral toward folly. He used the lioness's distraction to slip gold to Stokeworth scribes, forging stag-headed warrants for additional grain shipments to the wall. Hunger kills loyalty. Feed the Night's Watch and they may recall vows. Chaos above the wall threatened the whole realm. Oberyn would not see winter whites marching through the Dornish Pass. Obara returned with grim tidings. A bastard Bolton boy named Ramsay had flayed more than wolves. Northern hearts boiled for vengeance. Oberyn filed the knowledge aside. Should alliances tilt, Dorne might broker northern friendships by delivering Bolton Hyde. Vengeance was a universal currency. Inside the city, whispers of the Faith militants rearming gained volume. High Sparrow fanatics roamed in tattered robes, calling Chew. Een and council sinners. One spat at Oberyn's boots, naming him fornicator and sorcerer. Tyene slit the fool's tongue before he drew second breath. Sparrows scattered like chaff. King Tommen, newly 12, adored the Viper uncle who taught him Sivas and camel stories. Cersei seethed. One evening she confronted Oberyn in the royal garden where purple irises bloomed. "You corrupt my son. I educate him. With Dornish lies. With survival truths. He will need them when dragons fly." Cersei slapped him. The crack echoed like steel on anvil. Guards bristled. Oberyn fingered his cheek, then smiled. A lioness's paw bears claws.
"Skydd I bare mine?"
She spun and fled. That night an assassin crept through his window. A lithe boy garbed as a scullion, carrying a blade of iced Valyrian steel. Oberyn woke to Tyene's shriek. He rolled, pain lancing his healing rib, caught the boy's wrist, twisted. The dagger clattered. Tyene buried a needle in the boy's spine, paralyzing him from neck to groin. They learned little, only that a masked man in the sept cellar gave coin and steel. But the steel told its own tale. Valyrian, hilt carved with entwined lilies. House Tyrell's private sigil for close kin. Mace's peacock plumes wore petals underneath.
Oberyn chose restreint publiquement.
Privately, he dispatched Nymeria to the Reach with a cask of his finest wine and an unspoken threat. For every blade sent north, one Tyrell cargo barge bound for Old Town would vanish in Stepstone's waters. Trade weighed heavier than pride. The Tyrells sent no further daggers. One humid dusk Tyrion brought word that Tywin's cough worsened again. They visited together, candles casting long shadows on Eris lions. Tywin lay propped against cushions, face gaunt but eyes ember-bright. "I will die soon," he rasped. "When I do, for houses will pivot for power. You must keep them balanced." "Name them," Oberyn said. "The Tyrells. Gold and grain. The Baratheon of Dragonstone, if he lives long enough to matter. The Iron Bank, made wolves by my debts. And the dragons. We are already playing that game. Don't play, win." Oberyn nodded. "And Cersei. Contain her. Easier to bottle wildfire." Yet he accepted. Tywin motioned Tyrion closer. "One last thing. Remember who you are. Wear it like armor." Tyrion's eyes watered. The instant passed, raw and human, before the lion sank into breathing shallow as desert wind. He died at dawn. The realm trembled twice. First with grief, second with anticipation. Cersei moved to claim the hand's chain, but Oberyn, seal in hand, read Tywin's final decree naming Lord Kevan Lannister interim hand, pending the king's majority. Kevan, stunned, accepted. Cersei's cry of rage shattered an ebony goblet. Oberyn stood beside Kevan at the funeral pyre on the Blackwater bank. Ash drifted across dusk water. He whispered to Tyrion, "The world changed when I crushed a mountain. Now a lion has fallen. What next? Perhaps a dragon rises," Tyrion murmured, staring east. Oberyn looked to the horizon where pink faded to bruised indigo. Somewhere beyond that curve, Daenerys Targaryen fed her children and dreamed of crowns. The Viper wondered if his poem had reached her, if the notion of Dornish alliance flickered in her palace. Fire and sand together could forge glass. He vowed to see that forge. Weeks stretched, tense as crossbow strings. Kevan proved steady, boring, incorruptible. Cersei, deprived of direct authority, bored holes in the structure by night. Inducements to gold cloaks, whispers to septons, seductive visits to minor lords. Oberyn's birds tracked each ploy. At last he set appointment for parley. He met the queen in the Tower of the Hand, midday sun spearing through high windows. She wore morning black, hair knotted with jet thorns. "You spy on me," she accused before greetings. "I preserve balance," he corrected. "You meddle. You plot." She exhaled. State your price. Peace for Tyrion, for Myrcella, for Tommen's crown. In exchange, I will not reveal your financial innovations to the Iron Bank. Her jaw clenched. You threaten King's blood. I shield it. King's blood flows swift when wars ignite. If you force Stannis to unleash Shadow, Stannis is broken. She waved dismissively. He gathers Northmen. Oberyn stepped closer. Listen, Lioness. Winter hunts prey, not pride. Better you claw with me than against. Silence thickened. Then she asked quietly, Why? Why care for this realm at all? You are Dornish. Let it burn. He thought of Elia, gentle as dawn. I once believed vengeance enough, but vengeance grows sour in the gut. Justice, though, justice sustains. She laughed bitterly. Justice? There is none. Only power. The greatest power, he said, is to choose mercy. Her eyes gleamed wet. You sound like my brother, the one you saved. She brushed past him, but at the door she paused. Do not trust Kevin, she said. He bends like an old reed, so even in concession she sowed discord. Oberyn smiled. Politics, ever a serpent's nest. Dragons, however, cared little for nests of vipers or lions. Word arrived that Meereen's queen had dispatched an envoy west aboard a sleek galley bearing black sails emblazoned with three-headed red double-arm. Destination, Pentos, then Dorne. Nymeria intercepted the Raven. Oberyn's pulse quickened. He ordered a reception prepared at Sunspear. He drafted letters to Prince Doran, some coded in sand cipher, detailing alliances, vows, the possibility of marriage between the Dragon Queen and a Dornish prince named Quentyn, perhaps even the Viper himself if bloodlines demanded exotic binding. Yet as he sealed the final scroll, a thought chilled him. Dragons changed the rules, but did they change hearts? Power drew devourers. Could Oberyn, weaver of whispers, guide fire rather than be consumed? He pressed wax, imprinting serpent and sun. Then he stood at the balcony, wind threading hair, city sprawling below. Somewhere a baker laughed, a child cried, a drunkard sang bawdy, lives too small for the game yet crushed beneath its wheels. He whispered to Elia, to the memory of children dashed upon walls, to the 1,000 mothers still mourning across Westeros. I will not fail you. I will not fail them. A bell tolled for midday. Somewhere on the narrow sea a dragon's envoy cut through blue water. In the red keep a lioness sharpened her claws on empty air. Beyond Winterfell a flayed man's screams pierced wind. And in the tower of the hand a viper unfurled new maps, new plans, new strings to pull. The world was poised on a blade. Oberyn Martell gripped the hilt. On the festival of the Maiden's Day, Kevin announced royal tourney to honor Tommen's 14th name day. Cersei saw an opportunity to dazzle, Tyrells to flaunt prowess, Martells to showcase southern steel. Oberyn sensed a pit of vipers disguised as spectacle. He entered 2 sand steeds, sleek and golden, ridden by distant cousins skilled in lance and bow. He coached them in secret. Aim not to win, but to impress. Display swift grace rather than brute strength. Dornish mystique would lure allies more than gilded prizes. The tourney proved a tapestry of color. Banners rippling, horns blaring, pavilions fragrant with roast boar and spiced Dornish oranges shipped up the Rose Road. Oberyn roamed the lists, eyes and ears drinking in gossip. Sparrows decried the extravagance. Merchants cheered sales. Pickpockets thrived. In the archery yard, a northern youth shot arrow through apple at 100 paces. Oberyn approached, learning the boy hailed from House Mormont. He placed a golden dragon coin in the youth's calloused palm. For your mother's fires, he said. The lad bowed, eyes shining. Northern goodwill purchased cheap. Later, during the melee, Ser Loras Tyrell unhorsed 7 challengers, rose petals scattering like blood. Cheers shook stands, but Oberyn watched Marjorie's brittle smile. Loras fought for family, yet family already teetered between lion jaws. Nightfall brought feasting under lanterns. Music soared, wine flowed. Cersei drifted among tables, each sip loosening tongue. Oberyn cornered a half-drunk Braavosi banker and pressed him about Iron Bank demands. The man confessed that discrepancies in the ledgers had surfaced. Missing documents. Cersei's debt charade cracking. Who might replace her as guarantor? Oberyn asked. Why, the master of whisperers, perhaps. The banker jested. You hold the realm's secrets. Surely you hold its purse. Oberyn smiled, but in his chest something stirred. An idea. Secure the bank. Secure the realm. A viper soon to become treasurer of trust. As feasting ebbed, he strolled the gardens, lantern light painting leaves gold. He found Tommen chasing a white cat along hedge paths. The boy king paused, panting. Your Grace, Oberyn greeted. Prince Oberyn. Ser Pounce escaped again. Oberyn crouched, offering a hand. The cat sniffed, then allowed capture. Tommen cradled it, smiling. In that smile, Oberyn saw innocence precarious as sand upon wind. Do you ever wish to ride a dragon? He asked quietly. Tommen's eyes widened. Are they real? Very. And perhaps one day they will fly above this city. Will you greet them as friends? The boy nodded, though fear shadowed his gaze. Oberyn ruffled his golden hair. Then learn their language. Justice, mercy, courage. He rose. Keep that cat safe. Even claws need care. He left Tommen under moonlight. In the distance, horns announced Tyrell victory in the final tilt. Cheers rose like surf. Oberyn felt the tide accelerating, pulling nations toward some unseen reef. Midway through summer, a raven arrived bearing black ribbon. News of Jon Snow resurrected by red magic, united now with wildlings, marching on Winterfell. Another horn blast across the chessboard. Oberyn mapped possibilities. If the wolf reclaimed north, Bolton fell. If Bolton fell, Frey support crumbled. Walder Frey still held river untenuous. Each domino tipped. Secrets poured in daily. Whispers of Euron Greyjoy summoning storms, of High Sparrow demanding king's confession, of dragons growing large enough to roast war galleys. Each thread wove into a tapestry of looming chaos. One evening, Nymeria returned from the Reach bearing a package. A folded square of Myrish lace stained with purple poison. Inside, a note in floral script. You sent a wave to rock. We send a ripple back. Petals fall. Petals indeed. Oberyn burned the lace. The Tyrell dance had resumed. He dispatched Obara to Old Town with instructions to court the Hightower guards. Knowledge of any Tyrell plot would surface first in docks or dockside brothels. He told Tyene to infiltrate the Faith's ranks disguised as repentant novice. And he himself paid a moonless visit to the Kettleblack brothers' lodgings, leaving behind a sack of gold and a warning. One wrong feather from your mistress, I pluck the flock. Fear proved potent glue. By autumn, a second envoy from Meereen arrived, this one bearing sealed letter from Queen Daenerys. Courtesies to Prince Oberyn, gratitude for his poem, regret that marriage alliances must await conquest of Westeros, but openness to friendship between dragon and sun. She enclosed a single black and red scale, as large as Oberyn's palm, warm to the touch even days after leaving the beast. Promise or threat, or both. He wore it on a leather thong around his neck beneath doublet, heavy as destiny. Preparations began for a Dornish-sponsored embassy east. Quentyn Martell would sail with Ironwood Knights, 3 sand snakes, and a chest of rare water gems. Oberyn penned instructions. Treat with respect, but remember desert's harsh truth. Dragons bow to none. Plant seeds of alliance, not servitude. That night he dreamed. Elia on a balcony of Meereen's great pyramid, her hands outstretched to flame, and from the flame a dragon's sword, wings eclipsing sun. He woke choking tears. Vengeance, justice, mercy, they tangled like serpents. Winter ravens croaked early frost again. Inside the city walls, sparrows swelled to mobs, flogging sinners in alleyways. One dawn they seized prostitute off the street of Silk, shorn her hair, marched her naked toward the September. Oberyn rode out with 10 Dornish spearmen, scattered the zealots without bloodshed, though spear points pricked cloth. He presented the woman with a cloak and coin, but the faith branded him heretic. Rumors flared that even the king's council feared the viper's poisoned fingers. Let them fear. Yet fear alone wobbled. Hearts require hope. So Oberyn dispatched grain wagons to poorest districts at winter's first snowfall, each loaf stamped with sun and spear sigil. Bread you could taste, symbol you could believe. The small folk cheered Dornish generosity. The faith railed at sinful largesse. The noble houses recalculated. Cersei confronted him once more, voice brittle. You buy the city. I feed it. Feed it to your dragons. He smiled. Perhaps. But a city fed rarely revolts. Until you starve them to keep power. I do not starve children, your grace. She glared, but her argument stumbled over the memory of Elaya's slain babes. In that pause, Oberyn glimpsed a crack in the lioness's armor. Guilt. He pressed. Help me feed more. Open your storehouses. We cannot risk shortages later. And risk riot now? When faith militant marches. Choose timing, blood or bread. Cersei turned away. But 2 days later, a royal edict opened 3 Lannister granaries. Bread lines shortened. Cersei gained reluctant gratitude. Oberyn earned enemies among grain speculators who had planned profit. He sent those men a message too. Tax levies tripled on hoarded stores. Balance. A letter from Doran arrived, lines trembling from his gout-groped hand. He praised Oberyn's progress cautiously yet warned. The viper that coils too close to lion may find itself devoured when cubs grow bold. He urged discretion, secrecy, patience. Oberyn smiled. Patience had never been his native tongue. Yet he loved his brother and weighed counsel. He wrote back describing alliances forming like desert storms. Tyrell cracks, faith thunder, dragon winds. Patience may cost the realm, brother, he concluded. The night the first snows stuck, Oberyn stood on the Red Keep's tallest turret. The city slept under soft white, quiet as a babe though each house nursed its own dreams and sorrows. He looked north, imagining wolves howling among ice. He looked east, imagining black wings beating. He whispered a private vow. When dragons cross, I will stand between fire and innocent. When sparrows sharpen beaks, I will slice them swift. When lions roar, I will answer with venom so sweet they never know they've swallowed death. The wind carried his breath away like incense. Below, a single candle burned in the Queen's tower, another in Tyrion's chambers, another in Kevin's. They flickered like chess pieces awaiting the next move. Oberyn descended. In his solar Tyene dozed over maps, Nymeria polished twin needles, Obara sharpened spear points. He kissed each brow in turn. Soon, he told them, we strike more than whispers. We carve the world. They grinned. He sat at his desk, unfurled new parchment, dipped quill. He began drafting plans for a council of realm interests. Lions, roses, wolves, stags, suns, dragons. Unthinkable, but perhaps necessary. He wrote until dawn pearled the horizon. 5,000 words poured like blood and wine across parchment. And still the viper's tale had only just begun. The wind that swept through King's Landing that morning carried salt from the Blackwater and a sting of far colder things rolling down from the north. A dozen chimneys smeared gray across a sky the color of hammered pewter, and banners hung limp above the ramparts, moisture beating on golden lions, red rose petals, and the sun and spear of Dorne alike. In the yard below the Tower of the Hand, a pair of Tyrell knights sparred half-heartedly, their blunted longswords knocking like dull church bells. Both kept glancing up at the silent windows of the Red Keep, as if expecting some hidden judge to condemn them for training while the realm's rulers schemed. Inside, Oberyn Martell lay awake on a couch of Dornish cedar, steel-bound volume of the Jade Compendium open across his chest. He had not slept more than an hour. Every time his eyes drifted shut, he saw Titan's daughters, great bronze women rising from black water, mouths open in eternal warning. Sometimes they wore Elaya's face. Sometimes they wore Cersei's. Once, disturbingly, one of the Titans had been Daenerys Targaryen, her molten eyes fixed on him as she whispered in High Valyrian, I will break the wheel and you are a spoke. Breaking wheels rarely inspected which spokes they shattered. He threw off the blanket, massaged the ache that burned behind his left shoulder, the old wound where one of Gregor Clegane's shattered teeth had buried itself when the mountain's jaw broke apart under his spear haft. The maesters said bits of another man lingering inside you could twist flesh for years. Perhaps that was the price. He would carry a fragment of the monster he'd slain until his own bones turned to dust. A rap at the outer door.
Numeria and slippet in, both souls soundless.
She smelled of wet horsehair and clove oil, travel-stained cloak dripping on the rushes. "You rode hard," he said. "I raced a storm," she answered, voice low. "But I bring proof, the hooded coin trail." She produced a small leather purse, its drawstrings incised with tiny twin lions. When she upended it, a spill of silver stags and a single old Valentine silver moon slid across his desk. He lifted the foreign coin. The face had been filed flat, then stamped anew with 3 concentric circles. Mark of the Black Cell's quartermaster who dispensed hush money. That meant Queen Cersei's vaults still leaked, but not necessarily at her orders. Any rat inside the Red Keep could have stolen her purse sigils. And the messenger? Dead. Nymeria's tone was casual, like describing the weather. He fought, though not well. Buried him under lime in the priest's orchard. Oberyn nodded, slipped the coin into an ivory coffer where he stored such artifacts of intrigue. A Tyrell handkerchief speckled with strangler paste. A frosted lens smuggled from the faceless accounts and bravos. A finger bone wrapped in velvet that once belonged to a Storm's End septon whose sermons turned rebellious. Truth made strange trophies. "Rest," he said. "You shall ride again soon." "Where?" "The Blackwater Rush. Scouts report Sparrow caravans massing. I want to know if they escort more than prayers." She bowed and vanished like smoke. He donned a black doublet, pinned the scale of Drogon beneath the lapel where lion eyes could not see, and headed for the narrow corridor that led to the council chamber. Halfway down the stairs, he caught the distant toll of bells. Slow, mournful, irregular. Bells never rang so without reason. A breath later, Ser Balon Swan clattered round the landing, visor up, pale hair plastered to his forehead with rain. "Your lordship," he puffed, "Kevin Lannister, struck down in his chamber." Oberyn's hand found the dagger at his belt. Alive, breathing, but a quarrel in the shoulder. Maester Pycelle staunches. Who found him? A novice septa bringing morning broth. Novice septa, perfect disguise. The faith militant learned quick. Oberyn lengthened his stride. Swan matched pace. Hallways blurred. Tapestries of the field of fire, of Darren's conquest, of Baelor walking barefoot to Dorne. How ironic, Oberyn thought, that a pious gang chose crossbow quarrel rather than righteous blade. Perhaps right. Easness bent easier when strings grew taut. Outside Kevin's apartments, dozens of gold cloaks clustered, helms fogged. Tyene crouched beside the doorframe studying splinters. She looked up. No lock forced. They had a key or the guards. Her blue eyes lingered on Balon Swan. The Lord Commander bristled. "My men are sworn. Sworn and hungry," Tyene replied, wiping red smear on her white gown. Swan arched brow. Oberyn cut the quarrel. Later, he entered. Kevin lay propped on linen pillows, Pycelle suturing flesh. The bolt had lodged high, missing lung by 2-finger widths. Kevin's face was pale as suet, jaw grim. "I am not finished dying yet," he croaked as Oberyn approached. "Do not hurry," Oberyn said. He assessed the room. A single shattered goblet, wine-staining rug. Window ajar, rain blowing in. A smear of wet boot prints leading back to the corridor, quickly drying. He knelt, touched them. A faint gray residue clung to the stone. "Powdered lime," he murmured. "Used by silent sisters to prepare corpses." Pycelle looked alarmed. "Assassins wearing holy robes?" "Holy robes fit all sins," Oberyn answered. He straightened. "Lord Kevin, who knew you dined broth at this hour?" "Only Pycelle, my valet, and the Queen, perhaps." She arranged. He winced. "Worry not. Find the culprit." Oberyn glanced at Tyene. She melted out. Meanwhile, Pycelle bound the wound tight. Oberyn knew the old maester lengthened the thread intentionally, delaying his own indictment as incompetent for failing to keep life's anchor within the lion. Better fear in the wrinkles than incompetence. Still, Pycelle's hands did not shake. Experience served. Will he stand counsel? Oberyn asked. 3 days, God's willing, Pycelle replied, but rest undisturbed. Disturbance will come, Oberyn muttered. He left, swirling cloak. The rain hammered roofs now. Across the courtyard, he glimpsed a column of beggar knights carrying wooden staves topped with 7-pointed stars marching toward the great September sparrows. 100? 2? Hard to count in mist, but enough to riot if blood spilt. He headed for the rookery, found Maester Balabar prepping ravens. 3 messages, Oberyn said. 1 to Sunspear, brother stricken, storm brewing, ensure Quentin sails soon. 1 to Old Town, sparrows sharpening talons, request Maester Mullen's cipher on faith militant debts. And 1 to White Harbor, North may soon need southern friends, willing to barter grain for truth on Bolton sins. Sign them Sun and Spear. Balabar nodded, quick. Back in his solar, he found Nymeria adjusting her cloak again. Ride careful, he told her. She flashed teeth. If sparrow talons clutch anything sharper than prayer, I'll return with proof. And if they clutch nothing, I'll bring a talon. She was gone. That night supper with Queen Cersei was a frost-rimmed affair. She occupied the head of Lord Tywin's long oaken table, though Kevin lived still. Beside her sat Tommen, wide-eyed, cheeks flushed with worry. Marjorie Tyrell perched like a wren opposite, smile polite, while Loras and Mace filled goblets. Tyrion slid in late, kissed Marjorie's ring, ignored Cersei's glare, and selected a place midway. Oberyn arrived last. He bowed to Tommen, then took the vacant chair directly across from the Queen Regent. Candlelight flickered over her emerald silk. He noticed faint bruising along her wrist, as if someone had grasped too hard recently. He filed it away. Prince Oberyn, she greeted, voice sweet as chilled honey. We missed your counsel early. Gentle cousin struck down by cowards, yet you vanished to your birds. My birds trace the arrow, he replied. Perhaps they will sing at your window. Wine dripped from her ruby earring. She sipped, eyes never leaving him. Marjorie cleared throat. Pray tell, has Lord Kevin's attacker been found? Not yet, Oberyn said. But we pieced the feathers. A lime-soled boot, a crossbow strung with faith-blessed hemp. Impugning the faith is unwise, Cersei murmured. Should the faith turn cutthroat, impugning becomes duty. Tommen fidgeted. Oberyn softened his tone. Your grace, do not fear. Your uncle will mend. The boy looked grateful. Dinner conversation drifted. Shipping yields from Arbor. Rumors of Stannis' progress. The first reports of winter snowfall heavier than any in living memory blanketing the neck. Mace boasted. Loras smirked. Tyrion cracked jests. Yet tension threaded every exchange. Twice Oberyn felt unseen eyes from gallery above. Either sparrow spies disguised as Septon aides or Cersei's kettle-black shadows. He ate little. When the last course, honeyed fig stuffed with goat cheese, vanished, Cersei rose. Walk with me, my prince, she said, an invitation flavored like venom. Oberyn inclined head. She led him through torchlit corridors into the Queen's ballroom, now empty save incompetent harps left after a rehearsal for Tommen's upcoming feast. Rain rattled high glass panes. You suspect me, she said. Suspect is mild. He traced a finger along harp strings, producing dissonant twang. You hold motive. Kevin constrained your guardianship. She laughed, a brittle sound. I would not crossbow my own blood. Would you not? He advanced a step. You once told Ned Stark you would do any cruelty to protect your children. Kevin stands between you and them, in your mind. She stiffened. Kevin opposed father long enough. Yet the blow was not mine. I spent dawn praying. Her gaze hardened. Perhaps your little snakes strike in lion coats. If so, they fong deeper. He folded arms. But let us imagine you speak true. Then someone wants Kevin gone to plunge Lannisters into chaos. Tyrells for the crown, sparrows for divine right, or a Sellsword wearing a golden mask from Essos. A flicker of fear across her poise. The dragons. Who benefits if lions scrabble? he asked quietly. Fire sees best in darkness. She lifted chin. When dragons come, king's blood quenches them. Dragons drink blood, Oberyn corrected. They are not quenched by it. Thunder cracked.
Candle flame bent.
Cersei's reflection wavered in the glass. Two of her, one stern, one frightened. Allow me, he said, to direct investigation my way. Keep your kettle blacks leashed. Let the faith believe you pious. When arrow turns, spare your name. And what will you want in trade? Bread. Open another granary. Winter bites. Always bread. She sighed. You shall have it. He bowed slightly. Then good night, your grace. He walked away, leaving her silhouette against the storm. 3 days later, before dawn, a rider from the Blackwater Gate brought Nymeria's first raven. Sparrow wagons found. Weapons hidden under saltfish. She attached sketches. Crude morning stars carved with 7-pointed stars. Steel caps stamped Mother Have Mercy. The faith prepared an army. Oberyn convened emergency council. Kevin, bandaged, attended, but red-eyed. Tyrion, face grim. Marjorie standing in for Lady Olenna. Grand Maester, Lord Oberyn. Cersei absent, they waited 5 minutes before Oberyn began. He placed Nymeria's drawings on the table. Piety marches.
Picelle adjusted spectacle.
The crown cannot oppose the faith openly. The people would. The people starve under faith taxes, Oberyn interrupted. The sparrows extort grain from villages to feed their host. Peasants curse them already. So we send gold cloaks? Tyrion asked. Gold cloaks will falter. Many worship. We require symbol. Justice's edge, not lion's roar. Marjorie spoke softly. The High Sparrow demands reform. Perhaps negotiation. Oberyn slid another parchment. List of names flayed by faith zealots for whoring, sodomy, failure to tithe. Negotiation buys corpses. Kevin sighed. What do you propose, Prince? An inquest of the Seven. Summon the High Sparrow to debate doctrine before lords and maesters. While he speaks, we close his armories, confiscate weapons in King's Landing. Marjorie frowned. He may refuse. Then he admits fear of truth. Oberyn Waters drummed fingers. Ships can blockade his supply barges along the Blackwater. Hunger starves zeal quicker than swords. Do so quietly, Oberyn said. The motion passed. Oberyn drafted summons sealed by King Tommen. Pycelle's ravens flew. That afternoon Tyene reported from the dungeons. The archer Ser Janin Storm had died, mouth foaming, after a jailer delivered water. Tyene dissected the body. Crystals of strangler lodged in gums. Inside job, she said. I traced Cup to Cellkeeper Hodge. He claims bribe by Masked Sister. Kill him? Oberyn asked. Let him rot. He served purpose. Oberyn paced. Too many masks. Cersei insisted innocence. Tyrells? Sparrows? Or a deeper game? Varys's long fingers. The spider may dispense chaos from afar, clearing webs for return. He needed new vantage. Ravens carried only rumor, so he turned to glass candles. In a locked room above the rookery, he kept a shard of obsidian long as his forearm prized from a smoking mountain beyond Dorne. Mages claimed such candles burned bright in Valyria, showing visions across seas. Maesters said folly. Oberyn, scholar of poisons and passions, trusted neither but risked hope. He lit a circle of aromatic oils, saffron, smokevine, crushed date pit. He spoke low Valyrian verses gleaned from dusty scrolls at Sunspear. The candle remained inert, dull and cold. He closed eyes, inhaled, exhaled rage, sorrow, desire. The shard warmed faintly, a flicker of red coursed veins within black crystal. He saw, for a heartbeat, the harbor of Meereen. Black sails, harpy toppled, children playing near scorched bricks. And in a balcony above, a woman in ash-white tunic turned, as though feeling his gaze. Silver hair spilling, eyes of deep violet meeting his through time and stone. His heart paused. She raised 2 fingers to her temple in silent salute. Then the vision shattered. He jerked back, sweat icing his nape. The candle cooled. Did she truly see, or fever dream? Either answer shook him. 7 nights later the High Sparrow arrived. Gray-bearded, barefoot, flanked by Sparrow honor guard carrying cudgels disguised as walking staves. He entered the throne room humbly, bowed thrice, but his eyes were bright, unafraid. Tommen perched on throne, voice rehearsed. Most devout, we bid you speak on charges of unlawful arms. The Sparrow smiled thin. We arm only against sin. The mother commands protection. Oberyn stepped forward. The crown acknowledges protection, yet finds slaughter of bakers and tavern wenches exceeds mother's embrace. Lay down weapons within city walls. Retain only staves for processions. Murmurs rose from galleries, nobles, small folk, Tyrell men. The Sparrow lifted calloused hands. If the realm's rulers would tend to whores and liars with zeal equal to us, these hands might rest. Yet gold cloaks guard Lannister coffers while children starve. Oberyn's mouth tightened. Grain flows again, under my decree. Grain dulled from storerooms of sin, the Sparrow retorted. Wine flows richer in brothels than water in the alleys. Cersei, newly present, snorted. Perhaps your flock should work rather than pray for crumbs. The Sparrow turned, eyes soft yet burning. Your Grace, a queen once fed her babes on silver spoons. The babes burned in blackened halls while she hid behind stone. Which fate awaits yours? Gasped. Guards half drew dirks. Oberyn raised a palm. Hold. He addressed the Sparrow. Words edge near heresy. Truth is never heresy, came the calm reply. Oberyn sensed riot brewing. He changed tactic. Let us form a council, 3 septons, 3 nobles, 3 small folk, to oversee distribution of alms. You preach fairness. We provide structure. A pause. The Sparrow studied him, perhaps surprised by compromise. In that space tension eased a breath. Agreed, he said at last. If each side binds by parchment and oath. So ordered, Tommen declared, voice steady. For a moment, Oberyn believed peace feasible. Then a scuffle erupted near western doors, Goldcloak grappling a rag-wrapped figure. The prisoner shook free, flung tiny object. A hiss, then flash, wildfire pellet bursting green flame across marble. Panic exploded. People screamed. The High Sparrow dropped to knees praying. Cersei dragged Tommen behind throne. Marjorie shielded children of her retinue. Oberyn lunged, cloak smothering green. Heat licked his skin. Smoke stung. Guards tackled the bomber. Oberyn stomped flame out. Boots sizzled. When smoke cleared, 3 small folk lay charred near pillars. Silence broken only by crackle. The Sparrow rose, face pale. See what sin breeds, he intoned. Oberyn rounded on him, eyes blazing. Sin dressed itself pious tonight. Your man wore rag of the faithful. Or a viper's, the Sparrow shot back. Cersei screamed. Seize every sparrow. Chain them. Anarchy loomed. Oberyn barked. Enough! The word echoed like spear strike. He pointed at the bomber, stripped of robes. No 7-pointed star tattoo, only a crude flame etched in ink on cheek. A fiery heart symbol of Lawler. Melisandre's creed. Stannis' shadow. The hall reeled. Allies shifted. Oberyn knelt, examined bomber's features. Freckled, beard scruff, northern. On his wrist, a leather thong bearing sigil of House Glover. Stannis indeed. He rose, voice clear. This man bears the stag's cause, not the sparrow's. The gods bed many madmen. The revelation diffused immediate slaughter. But the damage hammered cracks deeper. Oberyn locked gaze with Kevin. They shared recognition. War brewed on 3 fronts, faith, Stannis, dragons. That dusk Tyrion visited Oberyn's solar bearing 2 cups and a scroll. News from the east, he said, waving parchment. Quentyn Martell failed. Burnt trying to claim dragon. Oberyn's breath caught. Dead. The dwarf shrugged. Riddled Char. The queen grieves. But she wrote fresh lines about alliances with families of kindly serpent blood. A consolation prize. Grief stabbed, but Oberyn kept mask. Quentyn, shy nephew, chasing hero's dream, now ashes. Dragons scorch indiscriminately, he whispered. Tyrion poured wine. Maybe yet not immovable. Her court wobbles. Yunkai siege, plague. She may need allies unburnt. Oberyn swallowed. We must still prepare greeting. Tyrion leaned on desk. You juggle lions, sparrows, stags, and dragons. How many balls before one drops? As many as blood demands. Oberyn's knuckles whitened on cup. Tyrion tapped scroll again. There's more. Aegon, perhaps the true son of Rhaegar, landed in Stormlands with Golden Company, taking Griffin's roost. So the Mummer's dragon lives. Oberyn laughed bitterly. My enemy's friend's cousin, or your niece's savior. The wheel spins. Oberyn drained goblet. I need time. Time is out. Tyrion's mismatched eyes mirrored his exhaustion. But drink anyway. They clinked cups. Nymeria returned next dawn blood-spattered, riding lathered mare. Faith wagons reached King's Road armed 200 strong. They marched to city. 10 days. Oberyn exhaled. He summoned Kevan, Marjorie, Orain, Tyrion, Pycelle. Cersei refused again. The Queen Regent busied with Tommen's feast, constructing illusions of stability. Fine. Oberyn unfurled a new map. 200 sparrows now, more later. We intercept outside city to avoid riot. Need mixed host. 50 gold cloaks, 50 Tyrell men, 20 Dornish spearmen, Septon arbiters. Kevan nodded. I will command. No, Oberyn met his eyes. You're wound fresh. Let a face they trust lead. Septon Maribald, known wanderer. He rides ahead to parley. Our host backs talk. Tyrion added, we bring bakers' guild wagons. Offer bread, wine. Disarm tension with charity. Marjorie smiled approval. Strategy of grain again. Plan fixed. 3 days later ravens screamed. Stannis' host defeated Bolton, but the Night's Watch declared new King Jon Snow murdered, then resurrected. North fracturing. The letter ended, Winterfell bones burn.
Fleetman banner in tatters.
Good. One toxin less. As the city fussed preparing Tommen's name day, Oberyn rode south with the intercept host. Rain hounded them. Septon Maribald, big-boned, sandals slapping mud, led donkey named Waffles. Gold cloaks followed, some muttering about Dornish command. Oberyn ignored. On the 5th evening they sighted the Sparrow Column. Pilgrims in gray, torches bobbing. Oberyn signaled halt behind ridge. He and Maribald advanced alone under Peace Banner. At a fallen oak they met the Sparrow Commander, a one-eyed man called Brother Walder. He wore chain shirt beneath rag robe. Morning star slung. Around him 20 zealots bristled. Maribald raised palms. Brothers, the city embraces you, but heavy arms breed fear. Lay them aside. Feast awaits. Brother Walder spat. Feast of whoredom. We carry the warrior's will. King couches with harlots while small folk starve. Oberyn stepped forward. So you bring blades to starved? Blades feed none.
Blades brune rot.
Walder's eye fixed on Oberyn's face. Recognized him. The viper, poison of Dorne. You tempt kings with sin. Temptation is choice. I offer grain. Accept. Walder laughed. Your grain buys obedience. We bring faith. Negotiations collapsed. Walder demanded audience before throne. Refused to surrender weapons. Oberyn proposed compromise. 5 unarmed representatives enter. Rest camp outside walls. Walder refused. Night thickened. Rain pattered. Oberyn's patience thinned. He said softly, return whence you came, or bury your dead here. Walder gripped Morningstar. Try Viper. Oberyn inclined head. Maribald retreated quickly. Oberyn pivoted, whistled. From dark hillside Dornish archers hissed arrows, severing torch flames, snuffing light. Zealots startled but did not break. They charged uphill, cries of the Father's justice. Gold cloaks formed shield wall. Tyrell men loosed shafts. Oberyn drew short spear, slid among mud. He struck ankles, wrists, non-lethal, yet each blow dropped Zealot screaming. He fought like sand serpent. Low, quick, lethal only when forced. Brother Walder swung heavy, missed, overbalanced. Oberyn slammed spear shaft into remaining eye. Walder fell clutching socket. Battle lasted minutes. 30 Zealots lay wounded. 5 dead. Oberyn ordered Maester's 10 survivors. Seized weapons. Bound Zealots. He kept Walder alive, blind now but tongue intact. At dawn, Septon Maribald delivered ultimatum to rest of column. Disarm or turn. They turned, carrying stories of Viper's mercy and wrath. Back in the capital, Cersei raged at bloodshed. "You defy King's peace," she spat in council. Kevin, still pale, countered. He preserved peace. No riot inside walls. Tyrion added, "Bread spoiled before arrow flew. Call it pruning rot." Cersei's glare scorched, but Tommen, newly 14, spoke timidly. "Mother, no more war, please." Oberyn bowed. "Your Grace, we follow your wish. The faith representatives may yet join council, unarmed." The boy nodded. That evening, Oberyn visited dungeons. Brother Walder, bandaged eyes, knelt in fetters. Oberyn crouched. "Where got weapons?" "From Stormland's villages," Walder rasped. "Men loyal to Stag. Names. No tongue has such treachery." Oberyn produced small vial. "This dissolves eyes, but you lost them. Perhaps heart? It burns slower." Walder tensed. Oberyn uncorked. Fumes wafted. Walder gasped. "Bryce Caron, Lord of Nightsong stores, and men of Weeping Town." He coughed. "More I know not." Oberyn corked vial. "Faith tying to Stag. Interesting." He rose, left Walder to silent dark. Across next fortnight storm's battered coast. Orain waters galleys blockaded spar. Our barges, seizing crates of morning stars molded in storm's end forges. Evidence piled. Cersei meanwhile advanced Tommen's feast. Harpists, masks, pantomimes. She invited common folk to show generosity, but also to drown whispers of her part in city tension. Oberyn used event. He requested seats for orphan boys recruited as message runners. Varys's former birds now under his care. Cersei balked. Kevin permitted. At feast, the children performed Dornish ribbon dance, winning cheers. Oberyn ensured Tommen handed each copper star. Popular support pivoted. Mid-feast, a messenger arrived. Nymeria's orphans spotted sails off stepstones. Black hulls of Golden Company advancing west. Aegon moved. Oberyn excused himself, found Kevin at dais, whispered news. The hand's face blanched. "Another claimant," Kevin muttered. "We must decide. Oppose or court?" "Court impossible. Lions back Baratheon line." "Baratheon line is corpse." Oberyn sipped wine. "Perhaps alliance with Dragon Queen becomes urgent." Kevin considered. "Envoy then." "You?" "Me." Kevin nodded slowly. "But city will stand." Tyrion steps as acting whisperer. "My snake's watch." Decision sealed. That night Oberyn gathered his daughters in Solar. Rain drummed.
Tienne Licandle, Obara polished spear, Nymeria stretched on window sill.
"I sail east," he said. Obara frowned. "Dragons burn. Better I treat than strangers." Quentyn died. Dorne owes duty. Nymeria asked, "Who guards city?" "You three." Tyrion as steward. "Protect the boy king. Hold bread lines. Keep faith at bay." Tyene smirked. "And mother tears?" "Cersei cannot kill what she fears to expose." He embraced each fierce, proud, trembling beneath calm. At dawn he boarded the burning spear, trim Drummond crewed by Sunspear mariners. Tyrion joined to see him off, stumbling slightly from wine. "You chase fire," the dwarf said. Oberyn gripped hand. "And you hold serpents." "I prefer lions. Easier to predict." Tyrion's laughter cracked. Oberyn stepped onto plank. "Remember, truth told kindly cuts deepest, and lies told kindly cut deeper still." They smiled. Gulls cried. The ship slipped from quay, sails catching wind. King's Landing shrank, red walls bleeding into morning haze. On deck, Oberyn inhaled brine, tasted possibility. West lay chaos. East, dragons. Between, a viper. Day 5 at sea, he dreamed again. Glass candle burning, Daenerys on beach of black sand, waves licking her ankles, holding chain of Valyrian steel. One end coiled round neck of a lion cub, the other round a sparrow, wings pinned. She called, choose which to free. He reached, but chain melted into sand, and dragons roared overhead. He woke sweating. Storm clouds massed. Captain warned of Cellsail raiders. Oberyn strapped spear, paced deck. He felt the realm stretching like parchment between flames. Maybe he could mend tears. Maybe ink would ignite. Back in King's Landing, the day after his departure, Brother Walder was found hanged in cell. Sheet twisted, Tyene examined. Not tied in pattern of Braavosi sailor's god. No sparrow would know. Varys's gift, Tyrion thought grimly. The spider refused to let game slip. Tyrion mused by candlelight, swirling wine. We all are pieces, he whispered. Who plays board? He glanced to Dornish scale Oberyn had left him, black, warm. He pocketed. At the stepstones, the burning spear outran corsairs, dropped anchor at Tolos. Oberyn disembarked, disguised in calf-length cloak, set course inland where rumors claimed Targaryen envoy waited. But that chapter stretched ahead, ink yet wet. 5,600 words, and Oberyn's voyage has only begun. The next surge will carry him to Dragon's Shadow, while in King's Landing sand snakes weave crimson threads through lion mane and sparrow feathers alike. The wheel groans, spokes tremble. Tell me when you're ready to spin the tale onward, and the viper will strike again.